Okay, Chrono, you said you've watched Kamen Rider with me a bit, right?
Yeah.
We used to do a lot of those reactions until
Yeah.
until the actual people got really mad at us and I had to stop for a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
So, the Inzektors are basically just Kamen Riders.
Okay.
Their whole thing is about teaming up and like equipping each other. Quite literally, you'll see what I mean. There's like 3 different like tokusatsu or 4 ones that are literally just tokusatsu references and archetypes.
Alright,
And this is one of them.
I need you to listen to me. It's been 11 months. 11 long months with no dual energy. I'm wasting away. My lungs have gone. My arms are fading. You look like Rayman
What
soon.
the hell?
You like Rayman?
What the hell?
Don't look at me like that. Listen to me. I need a review pronto. You understand me?
Hey, quit bugging me.
That's the original Kamen Rider.
Yeah, that'll do. Yeah, have fun.
Monster types don't fucking mean anything, and they never did. Aqua Dolphin, it
Yeah.
has Aqua in the name. Warrior. Circuit, the giant scorpion. Fairy. All of the scraps which are clearly machines. Only 4 out of the 20 are machines. Hungry Burger,
All
the
of them are
burger,
rock.
Warrior. Don't even get me started on all the dragons.
Yeah, Worm is a new archetype that we don't really talk about because there's not a lot of them.
Yeah.
Worms are just another form of dragon, but we just don't say anything.
Years ago, I was Chinese.
And so I segue into Inzektors, which despite consisting solely of superhumans in power armor, are somehow full-fledged insects and are therefore susceptible to eradicating aerosol. Then again, if
Yeah.
someone squirted a can of Raid into my face, I don't think I'd be too happy about it. Inzektors are a pretty weird archetype from a little less than a decade ago.
Yeah.
They have a very unconventional equip-based playstyle.
Yeah, they're quite
which I
literally
personally
Kamen Riders.
suppose
Look
to
at
make
them.
Work due to their Kamen Rider-like aesthetics. I'm not gonna go too deep into those since I know it's a niche topic, but I just want to say that whoever listed the Kamen Rider quote-unquote references on the Inzektor Wikia page was reaching harder than Magic Hand. Inzektor Centipede was based on the Centipede Undead. Really? How do you get that from a franchise where this guy exists? This archetype has
yeah.
had a lot of prominence in the meta during its early years, taking up all 4 of the top spots at the 2012 World Championship. Even after
It was
some
crazy.
significant hits, it continued to have tops for about 2 years before fading out, so let's take a look at what these nasty bug people were up to. We start off with Inzektor Firefly, a level 1 dark insect with the following effect. Once per turn, you can equip 1 Inzektor monster from your hand or graveyard to discard. If an Inzektor card equips to this card, you can look at all set cards your opponent controls. While this card is equipped to a monster, that monster's level is increased by 1, also it gains attack and defense equal to this card's attack and defense.
Not much.
A whole 100 of it. Firefly's applied effect is garbage, which is disappointing
Yeah.
because Fireflies are cool. But
They are.
we can use this
I'm
opportunity
not actually
to elaborate on the
I know they
collection
use some
Inzektor
sort of
effects.
chemicals
Nearly
to
every
make them
Inzektor monster can
a
equip
Firefly.
another one from your hand or graveyard to itself, and also has another effect if it's equipped
But yeah,
to a
these
monster.
are all
Side effect, for
insects.
the
I
most part,
don't
is a
know
level
why,
and
because they're
attack
clearly
increase,
warriors,
which is
but yeah.
generally not the main draw, but becomes handy on quite a few occasions. The real purpose of equipping, though, are some of the secondary effects, which turn Inzektors from a subpar beatdown deck into swarm-heavy summon spam with field clearing on the side. And
Yep.
one of the most consistent tools for said playstyle is Inzektor Ladybug. It's a level 2 with 500 attack and 100 defense, the standard.
Yeah, Ladybug has a certain type of design that I think looks super
Yeah.
silly. Looks honestly a bit more like Tron. Those
It
discs.
looks like he or she has got like a bunch of
Just-
Sharingan on him.
Oh my god. Oh yeah, let's see. Well, this area is equipped to a monster. Also gains attack you. You can send this card select one watcher. Ah,
Equip effects
there
and
we go.
boosting, but also we can send it to the
Victor
grip.
Ladybug was a reference to Kamen Rider Stronger. I don't.
Graveyard will equip
I
to a
don't know
monster
who
to increase
Kamen
the
Rider
level of a
Strong is.
monster you control by up to 2. Again, the level boosting is not the main point unless you're trying to make Dante
You got a
using
partner.
exclusively
Ah!
keys, but it does enable the occasional rank 5 play. However, it's the fact that you can dump the card for free that does wonders for the deck's playstyle, mainly due to their 2 primary playmakers relying on cards equipped to them being sent to the graveyard. I also want to
Okay.
admit that until now I never realized Ladybug had such a chiseled out body, which to be fair is a lot more reasonable than the 2 dozen people on my Twitter saying they never saw Dryden's gigantic tits. Run 2 of the Ladybugs. Inzektor Ant is a level 3 with 200 attack and 600 defense, all with
Inzektor
standard equip
Ant.
effects, and also if a monster it's equipped to would be destroyed, you can
Starting
destroy
as a
this card
very old
instead.
show
Ant is a bit of
writer. Listen, I literally can't show that kind of stuff over here, but yeah, I don't know a lot about the Showa writers, besides most of them are cyborgs. Apparently.
an artifact. Artifact? People tend to forget that a solid half of Inzektor cards are not directly based around play extension, and they forget it for good reason. The deck is capable of OTKing as much as packing the field, but that's mostly because the cards involved in both processes are essentially the same. It's ironic that the Inzektors based exclusively on attack boosting or protection don't get any play in the more aggressive variants, solely because the rest of the deck already does the job better, whether intentionally or by accident. Accident? Inzektor
Oh my
Hornet
God.
is a level 3 with 500 attack
Ah,
and 500
Hornet.
defense, the usual effects, but also, while it's equipped to a monster, you can send it to the graveyard to target and destroy one card on the field. Due to this not being a once per turn effect, interactions with certain Inzektor cards we'll talk about soon turn Hornet from a Nerf gun into a fucking SMG. Hornet's got reusable popping, a decent boost, and most importantly looks cool as hell, so it's
Yeah,
no
he
wonder
does.
it spent half a century on the limited list. Thankfully,
Kamen Rider B! Because I don't know of any other B-related insect Kamen Riders.
you can run 3 of
Or
them once again,
Hornets.
putting the deck's power output to maximum, unfortunately in a meta way less
Kamen
vulnerable
Rider
to
the
it.
B.
Among other things, it does this in conjunction with Inzektor
Yeah, I remember
Dragonfly,
Kamen
a
Rider
level
the
3 with
B.
1000 attack and 1800 defense. It's the first to not have all the usual equip effects because it's missing the attack boost, but comes with a very
Dragonfly! Oh,
important
my
effect.
favorite
If an
from that
attack card is sent
series.
to your
Because
graveyard
I like
while
his
equipped to this
design.
card, except during the damage step, you
Kamen
can special
Rider
summon one
Dragonfly.
Inzektor monster from your deck,
It was
except
Wasp, but I
Inzektor
called him the
Dragonfly.
B.
The ability to
Why the okay. Sure, why not?
fetch monsters straight out of the deck just by playing it normally has always been proven to be a mark of really memorable archetypes. True,
Ah.
Inzektors take somewhat specific cards and a bit of setup to go off intensely, but when they do, it's chaos. Dragonfly is a phenomenal combo starter, alongside Centipede, who has 1600 attack and 1200 defense, and the same effects aside from letting you search any Inzektor card when a monster equipped to it
Oh,
is
it was
sent to the
Kamen Rider
graveyard. Just by
Drake. Yeah, that makes sense because Dragonfly Drake. I forgot the names. It's been a while, okay? It's been a bit. I'm not the biggest Kamen Rider fanboy. Though I could tell you the exact line from frickin' G Gundam, but I can't remember some of the stuff from Kamen Rider, but yeah.
Juggling Hornet or Ladybug between these two, you can swarm the field with a bunch of monsters that let you continue into Lynx or Xyz, all while clearing the opponent's board if Hornet is involved. Now, extensive elaboration on all the potential FTK and OTK combos wouldn't be particularly interesting, much like with these two that came around the same
I do
time.
love the
You just
legend,
open with
the
loop
Six
enables and
Samurai.
make your way from there into whatever the situation calls for. Fact of the matter stays though, you
They're
can't
super
play
cool.
Inzektors without running as many of these as you can. Can't say the same about Inzektor Earwig though. Really? Out
Earwig.
of all the insects in the world? Are you even sure that's an
Yeah.
earwig? He's our first level 4, but only has 1000 attack and defense.
He doesn't look
However,
like an
it goes
earwig.
back to increasing the stats of the monster it's equipped to by its own, and when it's sent to the graveyard well equipped, that monster
I'm
gains
guessing it's
1000
the,
attack until the end
squirrel
phase.
looking
It's a
thing
vaguely
that he's
okay
got out
boost,
his
but it's in a
back.
deck that doesn't
Yeah,
really care
it's a
about that
sight.
unless it comes with play extension, which Earwig
Yeah.
certainly does not provide. If
Mm.
it had the ability to
Earwigs
detach
have
itself
the
at any
weird
time like
looking
Hornet or
wings on
Ladybug,
them.
it would have been pretty
Mm.
Going
cool,
out their
but
back
they may
end.
have been afraid of those kind of damage numbers back in 2012. I mean, hey, United We Stand was banned at one point, you never know with these things. It's just another example of this
Yeah, it
archetype's
was.
slightly unfocused design. Unfocused in this case, referring to the sad implication that somebody was gonna play this as a beatdown deck. For the other level 4, you've heard of Punch Hopper and Kick Hopper, maybe even Rising Hopper, but here we
Rising
have Violent
Hopper!
Stabbing Hopper. He's got 1700 attack and 1400
Stabbing
defense,
Hopper.
increases the level of the monster it's equipped to by 4, and you can send it to the graveyard as an equip card to let the equipped monster attack directly this turn, but other monsters you control cannot attack. It's a slightly contentious choice for the deck. On one hand, it doesn't help out with clearing the board, the level manipulation is not ideal, and it holds back potential OTKs, but on the other hand, it detaches itself and is also the closest thing the deck has to a normal summonable beater. It's not the worst thing if you need additional targets for the combo and don't particularly care about damage, but running more than one tends to be an issue. Their only level 5 is Inzektor Giga-Cricket. It's got 2000
Ah,
attack and 1300
Giga-Cricket.
defense, and if this card is in your graveyard, you can banish one insect type
I
monster
don't know
from
if
your
there's any
graveyard to target
Kamen Riders
one
based
face-up
off of
Inzektor
crickets.
monster you control, equip
I was showing a woman putting into acid was struggling in Kamen Rider Gaive. What? I've still been watching Gaive. Yeah, Gaive gets dark. Gaive gets dark. Like very dark.
discard from the graveyard to that target. This effect of Inzektor Giga-Cricket can only be used once per turn. While this card
Which
is
you
equipped
can
to a
watch some
monster,
of
that
us
monster's
watching
original
that over
attack
on
becomes
Patreon.
2000, and if it attacks a defense position monster, it deals piercing damage. There's
Oh.
nothing noteworthy about this thing. His recursion
Damn.
effect drains resources,
He has a
which
cool
99%
design,
of
too.
the time have way better uses, only to give you some mediocre attack manipulation and piercing. God forbid it provided a 2000 increase instead of a flat change, because that would have actually been kinda good. Poor Mr. Drills for hands. First he's a shit card, and then he can't even pee without a hospital visit afterwards. cards. Their
Oh
two
my
level
God.
6s are Inzektor Gigamantis with 2400
Ah,
attack,
Gigamantis
and Inzektor
also looks
Giga-Weevil
cool.
with 2600 defense. They have very similar effects in that
What
you
is
can
a
equip them from your
Weevil?
hand to an Inzektor monster you control, and the equipped monster's attack becomes 2400 in case of Mantis, and defense becomes 2600 if it's Weevil. If these cards are sent to the graveyard while equipped to a monster, you can target your
It
special
seems to
summon
be a
one
type of
Inzektor
beetle.
monster from your graveyard, only once per turn, but Weevil can target himself, whereas Mantis can't. As
Ah.
usual, Mantis' stat boosting only comes into play for the occasional OTK board, and Weevil's hasn't been relevant ever since Woolly Mammoths still walked the earth.
It's kind of sad because he has a really cool giant design here.
However, their floating
Like
effects
giant mecha
effects
design.
allow for excellent play extension, primarily in interaction with Hornet, as you can pop your own cards with it. Sending the equipped Hornet to the graveyard and targeting either of the level 6s will not only net you a recycle, but 2 searches from Dragonfly or Centipede. 1 or 2 copies of each are a great extra tool for the deck and can get you into some pretty impressive combos, but don't run too many as they are pretty much useless without a way to pop them. For their first Xyz, there's Inzektor Exastag, a rank 5 with 800 attack and
Ah,
defense, requires
Exastag.
2 level 5 insect monsters, and once per turn, you can detach 1 Xyz material from this card to target 1 monster your opponent controls or in their graveyard, equip that target to this card. This card gains attack and defense equal to half the original attack and defense of the monsters equipped by this effect. His stats are a bit pathetic, but the effect decently makes up for it. Non-destruction
Definitely.
removal is nice, was even nicer when the card came out, and it also puts in work on the off chance that the opponent might have something nasty in the graveyard. The summon
True.
condition might be a problem on occasion since you don't always have the Ladybug loop on standby, so it's not necessary, but running one generally doesn't hurt. Their other Xyz
There's
monster is
a Y.
Inzektor
Oh yeah, I
Exadude.
saw Kamen Rider, what was it, G? I saw the wine one. There isn't a cricket, but a lot of monsters. There's a lot of monster Kamen Riders. Especially Kamen Rider Kaivu? It's been a while.
Generic rank 6 with 1000 attack and defense, and
Ah,
when this card is Xyz
Exo
summoned, you
Beetle.
can target 1 monster in either player's graveyard, equip that target to this card. This card gains attack and defense equal to half the original attack and defense of the monster equipped by this effect. Once per turn, you can attach 1 Xyz material from this
I don't
card
know
to
why,
target
but
one
someone's
face-up
mowing
card
their
on each
lawn
side of
right
the field.
now.
Send those targets to the graveyard. This one's a little more
Really?
unconventional since it only equips on summon and only from the graveyards. You could fetch back a Mantis for the extra attack value, or a Hornet to repeat the pop, and the Scrap Dragon-like secondary effect can definitely be useful both for field clearing and continuing some combos. The card has utility, but unfortunately the materials are a downside. Usually the effort Inzektors have to put in for getting 2 level 6 monsters on the field deserves something better than an Exabeetle, especially with all the other rank 6s that could arguably do the job better at the time. Run 1 at most. Now we have something unusual. Powered Inzektron is a level 6
Yeah. It's an interesting looking card, but
generic
it's,
synchro monster.
I don't think they have any
Machine with
tuners.
2500 attack and 1600
I don't
defense.
remember the
Yeah.
This
Inzektors
card is
having
synchro
any
summoned.
tuners.
This turn, this card cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects, also you take no damage. I would say something like, this is an Inzektor card only by name, but it's not even that. It's an
Yeah.
Inzektron. This is a TCG exclusive synchro that came out some 2 years after the last piece of actual Inzektor support, and all things
Yeah.
considered, it was fine. It saw a reasonable bit of play in decks that could semi-consistently put out synchros on the opponent's turn, which of course Inzektors are not, as they don't even have a tuner.
Japan likes their beetles. Yes, they do. Quite a bit. I've seen what a rhinoceros beetle can do to a machine where it's battling it. It actually beats the thing with wheels on it. It's crazy.
Monster. It's not a
It's
bad
just a
card
toy,
or
but
anything, I just
still.
have no idea where the arbitrary Inzektor teaming came from. I don't recall any vaguely 6 samurai-based ritual monsters named 6 Salami from around that time, so it's just weird. I guess it's fitting for
Yeah.
the set that also decided to import these 2 masterpieces into TCG.
Dark
The last
artist.
monster is the somewhat recently released Link, Inzektor Picofalena. Wow, Alena,
Ah.
that is a nice pick. It's a Link 2 that requires 2 insect monsters, has 1000 attack, points down left and down right. Not that it matters anymore. And has the following effect. If this card is Link summoned, you can discard
That was Master Rule 4 where links were required in order to use the extra deck. They're not anymore.
card, then target one other insect monster you
Yeah.
control.
They're just
Equip
for other
one
Link
insect monster
monsters.
from your deck to it as an equipped spell that gains this effect. The equipped monster gains 500 attack and defense. You can target 3 insect monsters in your graveyard, shuffle them into the deck, then draw 1 card. You can only use each effect of Inzektor Picofalena once per turn. It's about as basic of a resource management card as
yeah.
it could get. Simple summoning condition, equipping from deck, mediocre attack increase for the sake of it, and some decent recycling. It's honestly better giant ballpark support than it is a pure Inzektor card.
Giant
God, what is
ballpark.
with generic insect decks? They pop up in the weirdest places when I'm doing research. Like, not even the guy
Yeah.
who talked with them can believe it. Just listen to his voice.
What deck did you use?
It was giant ballpark insects.
What?
Anyway, 2 Picofalenas are definitely worth running in the deck. So the
Yeah,
topic
you
of
can't even
Inzektor
believe
spells
it.
and traps is a little hard to approach, mainly because most of them are kinda not good. Starting off with a spectacularly named Final Injection, a normal spell
Final
which lets you send
Injection.
5 Inzektor cards you control to the graveyard to destroy all cards your opponent controls and prevent them from activating monster effects in their hand or graveyard during the battle phase that turn. Inzektors don't tend to have too much trouble putting 5 things onto the field, but the problem with this card stems from the fact that you need to dump them all to activate it, and it's completely unsearchable due to its name. Who gives a shit about the effects time afterwards if you're gonna have nothing left that can deal substantial enough damage for your opponent
It's
to want
supposed to be their
respond with a
final
graveyard effect or
attack.
hand trap? I guess
Yeah, it's a
nice that it
Sentai
prevents
Bazooka finisher
loading
reference.
as a
Everyone knows that.
constellation. Don't run this. Pajamas have a better field nuke. That hurts to say. Armor Blast is their other normal spell, which besides the horrifically unappealing artwork, provides you with the effect to target 1 face-up Inzektor card you
Yeah,
control,
that
2
could have
face-up
been
cards your
better
opponent
art.
controls, and destroy them. Archetype Icarus attacks don't really work unless they're made at least as versatile as Icarus attack. Naturally, no equip-based archetype would be complete without some actual equip spells, of which Inzektors get 3. Inzektor Crossbow Zektero, Inzektor
Makes
Axe
sense.
Zektahawk, and Inzektor Sword Zektcalibur. Okay, Zek this, Zek that, I get it, you watch Kabuto. Grandmother said this, shut up. Each unit can be equipped only to Inzektor monsters.
You
provide
can
a
tell
slight
it's
boost
highly
from
references
special
to
effects.
its
Crossbow
Kabuto,
increases
which
their
mostly
attack by
uses
500
boats.
and prevents the opponent from responding to their effects. Axe increases attack by 1000 and prevents the opponent from activating back row when the monster attacks. And Sword
That reminds
increases
me, I
attack
have
and
to look
defense
up how
by
much my
800, and when it's
card
face up and sent
prices
to the
have gone
graveyard,
up.
you can add 1 Inzektor monster from your graveyard to your hand. None of these are explicitly bad, but again, you only ever want to run the one among them that continues your combos, that being Sword. It's been a staple in Inzektor decks since release because popping it with Hornet or even an MST can trigger a chain of searching and recovery depending on what it was equipped to. Axe is not awful or anything, I could even recommend it if you're making some very unconventional beatdown build, but Crossbow is mostly useless due to the low attack increase and its effect not being applicable very often. Run 2 or 3 Sword and mostly forget about the others. Really, the spells that should get more of a mention are just the generic insect support cards like Multiplication of Ants, Cocoon of Ultra Evolution, Insect Imitation, and Giant Ballpark. These do more than enough to compound the deck's most ideal playstyle. The equip aspect of Cocoon and Parasite Paranoid genuinely feels like accidental synergy, but I'm not complaining. The equip trend continues onto their trap cards, of which the first 2 are Inzektor Gauntlet and Inzektor Orb. Both of them are equipped to Inzektor monsters. Gauntlet increases their defense by 1000 and makes them unable to be destroyed by the opponent's card effects, and Orb increases their attack and defense by 500, and you can send it to the graveyard to negate an effect targeting exactly 1 Inzektor monster you control.
Like I said, you don't really use equip cards nowadays unless they're monsters, but even then you rarely use them in most decks because there's not as reliable, unfortunately, anymore. It's just a thing.
Yeah.
I did find Fat Pikachu.
Most of it is like it'll make you gain like what 500 attack points at most.
Yeah.
I think one of the best equip cards there is. I think it gives you like 1,000. And I forgot what card it was. It's one of the older cards. I think it was.
Maybe so. Maybe so.
Honestly, both are reasonable protection for the time, and I could even say the latter has some relevancy today, or at least it would if it also destroyed the card it negates. As for Gauntlet, there really isn't any room for it in the deck, even if you cared about the protection, although it might be a fun little item for the D2 Shield Worshipper cult. Zek Conversion is their last normal trap and has the following effect. When a face-up Inzektor monster you control is targeted for an attack, target the attacking monster, equip the attack target to that attacking monster. Take control of the equipped monster while it's equipped with an Inzektor monster by this effect. It's about as specific as a random hero support card from GX that you'd see exactly once before it conveniently disappears from Jaden's deck, but to be fair, this effect actually synergizes with the archetype. If it triggered upon effect activation instead of attack and negated it while stealing the monster, I'd even dare to call it pretty good. Unfortunately, it's a lot slower than that, so while slashing is still one of the best methods of monster disposal, I think you're better off just running some staple counter traps instead of this. Finally, there's the continuous trap, Variable Form. Once per turn you can activate one of these effects. Target 2 face-up Inzektor monsters you control, equip one to the other, or target 1 Inzektor monster you control that is an equip card, special summon that target in face-up defense position. If it was searchable and if it was a spell card, I could vaguely see it extending a combo or two. The way it is right now though, you'd be putting in
the problem is, when we're playing slower Yu-Gi-Oh, it's fine to use certain traps, but some traps like these are just too slow nowadays for some newer decks. Me, I'm fine with using them if you can use them right, but a lot of people find them too slow.
Inzektors tend to do by themselves.
Yeah.
Besides, Mass Heroes pulled off the whole henshin
Apparently
thing a
on
lot
Grey
better
at
2 years
original
later,
Pikachu
so it
is
doesn't
about
even have the coolness
$120. Damn.
Wait, I just wrote G in the
Damn.
script. What the fuck? Great.
What?
The
Oh,
consistency of
there's coming
Inzektors
a
is
G.
serviceable. More often than not, you'll open with a hand
I do
decent
like
enough
the
to at least set
Inzektors
up
at the
your
very
combos in
least.
your next turn, provided you don't get locked out rotate. For really crazy first turn boards, though, you'll need a fair bit of luck. Inzektor's power output ranges from miserable to respectable, depending on what you define as archetypal power output. Their stats on average are nothing special, but Hornet and the XCs can frequently snipe some targets away. They are capable of making big fields with an OTK's worth of damage on board, but these either consist of generic Link or XCs monsters, or a bunch of Inzektors with little to no additional effects backing them up. Overall, they're somewhere in the firm middle. Their recovery is not very admirable. They certainly have the capability of restoring resources from the graveyard, but this doesn't tend to result in massive comebacks if most of your field and hand is already gone. It exists, there's just not much of it, as all their plays relevant to recovery fall under the umbrella of combo extension. Similarly, they have a minuscule bit of protection in the form of some traps and monsters nobody uses, so it's debatable if it should even count, but I tend to be generous with these grades, so here's a 2. Inzektor's versatility is probably their most standout aspect after all these years, as they can be modified into several kinds of builds using various types of ratios and tech.
Could
all
try
while
an
maintaining their
Inzektor deck,
playstyle,
but I usually wouldn't.
mostly resulting in different kinds of spam decks. Whether you're focusing
I
on
think they'd be
XCs, lanes,
best
or
in, like, a
pendulums,
mixture
the one
deck.
constant combo.
Oh, definitely. I knew how to make certain dark decks just horrifying for people. Never play me when I have shadows. You will find nothing but pain, Chrono.
Remains the core of your plays, which is somewhat
I know how to
limited.
make
I'd
you
say
feel
this is
pains
another
in
middle
ways
ground.
you've never understood
Here's
in
a deck
Yu-Gi-Oh!
list. This one's a little more focused on swarming with some
Everybody
enablers
knows how
such
to
as
make me
Gizmo
feel pain
Kiata,
in
Pin the
Yu-Gi-Oh!
Bullseye, and
because
number
I'm
60.
not very good at
Alternatively,
it.
you could opt for a variant using Giant Ballpark, Goki Pole, and Shiny Black Sea, which is frequently a lot funnier. My final thoughts on Inzektors aren't particularly elaborate. It's
Really?
a deck that has had plenty of time in the spotlight and has
There's a
proceeded
lot of
to
good
be
art,
thoroughly
though.
ignored by the concept of legacy
Yeah.
support. Depending on how, at the time, still ongoing Create a Card tournament goes, they could potentially get a bloated support card that enables them to shortly relive
They
their
could probably
glory
get one or
days. Their
two new
artwork is
cards that
pretty
could
vibrant
help.
and inspired while having a recognizable
Yeah.
aspect to it. And
There's
as
some
neat as
really
I find
cool
their
designs,
playstyle
though.
to be, I completely understand the hordes of people who would rather swallow a card binder than see another Inzektor ever again. Still though, former meta decks with unique mechanics being repurposed just
Some
a
really
little
cool
bit to get a
designs, though.
fighting chance rarely hurt anyone, so I wouldn't mind seeing what a modern take on the deck would look like. Give
Yeah.
their bugs some swarming ability for one.
Swarming ability. Really? Okay, why are they at the the door of darkness?
Night at the Dark Door. Your first host for tonight, Ojama Lai.
Why? Why is he here? Go away.
What?
Okay, so two penguin warriors walk into a bar.
Okay.
One of them flips out and they both go home. Hey, y'all been here all week.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Alright,
Well,
you're still not laughing.
The guy in the
How
background
many-
is the king of
How many
Armageddon.
keys does the Fire Fist janitor have on his belt?
That reminds me, I really want to make a King of Armageddon deck at some point. Because those can be deadly, but yeah, they have a bunch of newer cards to them.
10 keys. Alright, I got one more. Alright. You ever notice
Kill
how
it with
card
fire.
D,
Oh my god.
Is a
Yes,
flat
throw it on the
card.
fire.
like a card is flat, which it's a card, and then it has a D on the hood, which makes it a card D. That's the
Oh
name.
my god.
And then that you could also spell card with that if you move one of the spaces, and it lets you draw 2 cards.
Oh my god.
And it's level 2, which is the number of cards you draw, which is the number of times card is in its name.
We gotta keep going with this.
You can do that, and then it has 100 defense points for all of the wheels that it
Okay,
has.
Lime.
What the?
A little polymerization, and I'll see you next time.
No one is left, and they're mostly Dark
Hey,
World monsters.
you got any blast spheres in the audience tonight? Hey, we got any enraged Mukas in the audience
You got any
tonight?
black spears in the audience tonight?
Yeah, that's pretty much what it does.
Hey, Fable!
You got
The
any
frick-
rush
Fable.
duelists in the audience?
Fable.
That'd be you, Fable.
Nobody plays rush duels.
No one plays Rush Duels.
I don't know who this Fable is.
No one should play Rush Duels.
Why
They're not
you,
fun.
You know, like you don't know who you are.
Fable never knows who he is
Because
truly
Mac
inside.
told me to come in here, and then, yes.
I didn't say anything. All I did was
That
write
was-
Fable with a question mark, and then you're here.
Exactly. Who the frick is Fable? There's only
Heck, I
Zool.
think there's something wrong with our fable here.
Mm,
There's only Zool.
Zool. Zool.
oh my
Yes.
god.
Yes.
Well
Also, what are you guys watching? Another Archetype
yeah.
cards?
We're rocking
Yeah,
one
we
about
watched
the
another Archetype.
Inzektors. Which, you don't know who the
Inzektors?
Inzektors are. The Inzektors are one big Common Rider reference. Essentially,
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
specifically Kamen Rider Kabuto, because they're all bugs.
Insects.
Okay.
Yeah, there's Kamen Rider Mega Giga
You gotta-
Cricket, or not Kamen Rider,
Yeah.
Inzektor Giga Cricket, you know, all the bugs are in there. For some reason there's an earwig. But yeah, you might like them, Fable, at some point. They're not one of those cute archetypes like I showed you, the Justice Hunters, but they're a cool archetype.
Oh, man.
Fable really wants the Justice Hunters, everyone. Ever since I showed them what they were.
Fable's just like, oh, nards.
Yeah, he really likes the Justice Hunters. He's just sad because they're not in English right
America yet.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, don't blame him. I'm disappointed in myself. They're freaking adorable. Though, those would be the type of cards that I would just want to collect. I wouldn't actually want to use them in a duel.
Hmm. Yeah, I'd like to see how good they are. 10 sit-ups, I'll do those in a minute. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching this. If you guys watched to the end, please do consider checking me over on Twitch. You're nice enough to check me at the end, so why not? You can like some of our streams, and if we get big enough, I can help all of our friends and create some nice comic videos, more comics, and maybe some other stuff. I'll see you guys later. Be good to yourselves, guys.